All right, guys, so we are going to continue working with fractions where we have to come up with a common denominator. And today, though, we are going to be subtracting, so we're not going to be adding this time. So we do have to kind of be aware to make sure that we can subtract the numbers that we have as my numerator. If not, we might have to borrow from that whole number because if you notice, most of them have whole numbers to begin with. So we're going to start with 5 and 4. And if I were to write my multiples out, 5, 10, 15, 20. I already know right there that 20 is going to be that least common multiple. And it just so happens that I am multiplying this denominator by that denominator and vice versa. So I'm going to multiply this one by 4 and this one by 5. And I already know as I'm looking at this that, gosh, guys, this is not going to be, it's not going to necessarily work out. So I have 3 and 4 twentieths, and I want to subtract 2 and 5 twentieths. So right here, I'm noticing I cannot do 4 minus 5. So what I can do is I can borrow from this 3, and I can have 2, and then what I've borrowed is I've borrowed 20 twentieths. So I need to take that 20 twentieths, that whole number that I borrowed, and add it with this fraction, which would give me 24 twentieths, and subtract 2 and 5 twentieths. And now I've got 2 minus 2 is 0. I don't need to write it. And 24 minus 5 is going to give me 19 twentieths. Okay, all I did was just borrow that whole number, and I just need to make sure to add that whole number to that fraction that I have. Okay, moving on, got the same thing, 2/5 and 3/4. So I'm going to multiply this fraction by 4 and this fraction by 5. I have 4 and 8 twentieths, and I'm going to subtract 3 and 15 twentieths. And already right now, I know I cannot do 8 minus 15. So I'm going to take this 4 and I'm going to turn it into a 3. And I'm going to use 20 twentieths. Because remember, whenever I pull out that whole number, I just want it to match that denominator. So 20 twentieths is what I'll have. So I need to make sure to add this to that. So 20 plus 8 is going to be 28 twentieths. And I'm going to subtract 3 and 15 twentieths. So 3 minus 3 is 0. And then I've got 28 minus 15. So 8 minus 5 is 3, 2 minus 1. So my answer is 13 twentieths. Okay. Don't forget that all you're doing is you're pulling out a whole number, turning it into that fraction, 20 twentieths, to match that fraction, and then I'm adding them together to be able to successfully subtract. All right, so down here I've got 5 and 3, and I'm already going to know that 5, 10, 15, I'm going to stop there because that's what I know is going to be that least common multiple of 15, okay? Most of the time, some of the problems, you guys just might have to look for something that would be smaller if we can, but most of your time, the time that you guys have been doing a lot of this, it's just multiplying the denominators by each other, but don't think that that's what you always have to do. So I'm going to multiply this one by 3 and this one by 5. And I'm pretty sure you guys have probably caught on by now that we are going to be borrowing because we cannot do any of those problems. So we can't do 3 minus 5. So I need to borrow. My 7's going to turn into a 6. And that one that I borrowed is going to be 15 fifteenths. And the reason is because remember 15 is that common denominator. I want to have 15 fifteenths as that 1. I'm going to add 15. 2, 3 is going to be 18 fifteenths. And I'm going to subtract 4 and 5 fifteenths. Now, when I do this, guys, I do have this whole number of 6 minus 4. I still have that whole number of 2. Up here, I ended up having 0. So just don't forget when you have those whole numbers to not leave them out. 18 minus 5 is going to be 13 fifteenths. Okay. Same thing over here. I've got 5 and 3, so I'm going to multiply this fraction by 3, this fraction by 5. I'm going to get 7 and 6 fifteenths, and I'm going to subtract 5 and 10 fifteenths. Can't do 6 minus 10, so my 7 turns into a 6, and I'm going to write that 15 fifteenths off to the side. I'm going to add 15 plus 6 is going to be 21 fifteenths, and I'm going to subtract 5 and 10 fifteenths. And 6 minus 5 is 1, and then I know that 21 minus 10 is going to be 11/15. Okay, pretty simple. Moving on to letter E. I've got 7 and 3, and if I do 7, 14, 21, I know 21 is that first one that's going to match that multiple for 3. Okay, so I already know that I'm going to multiply this by 3 because it's that third number, and I'm going to multiply this one by 7 because it's that 7th number. So I have 4 and 6 21sts minus 3 and 7 21sts. So can't do that. I'm going to borrow this 4. I'm going to turn it into a 3, and I'm going to make that 21 21sts. I'm going to add that numerator to this numerator, which is going to give me 27 21sts, and I'm going to subtract what I have. Sorry, guys. 3 minus 3 is 0. 27 minus 7 is 20 21sts, and that would be my answer. Okay, same thing over here, same numbers, so I'm just going to multiply by that 7 and by the 3. I have 9 and 14 21sts minus 6 times 3 is 18. Oh, guess what I left out? I left out that whole number. 2 and 18 21sts. Can't do 14 minus 18, so I'm going to borrow. I'm going to take that 9, turn it into an 8. And then I'm going to add these two numerators. So 21 plus 14 is 35. So I've got 8 and 35 21sts minus 2 and 18 21sts. So I know 8 minus 2 is going to be 6. And then 35 minus 18. So 5, I can't do that, so that's going to turn 2, 5, 7, is 17 21sts. Okay, a lot of borrowing, but it is pretty simple if you just stop and slow down and think about it.